Boatbuilding News, the podcast. Let's do it. Welcome to Boatbuilding News, the podcast, a series of engaging interviews with key individuals from within the marine industry. I'm excited. This is going to be epic. Hi, Don. Welcome to the Boatbuilding News podcast.
Hey, Holly. Thanks for having me. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. You okay?
Very well, thanks. I'm in my vehicle. I'm pulled over, so no issues there. And but I'm mobile, so this is where my office is at today.
No worries at all. So I am super excited. I was just saying to you off air that I actually, when I looked at who I had to interview today and I saw it was you, I knew that I was going to learn so much because, you know, you're in such a niche pocket of the industry that I don't often sort of stop and think about. So I'm hoping that it's going to be the same for the listeners as well. So I'm super excited. So thank you.
Well, no pressure there. Thank you so much. But yeah, boating and a great audio system go together, kind of hand in hand. And without the audio portion, it totally changes the entire environment or the experience of boating. So it's very, very important part of the boating industry.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with an introduction. So tell us who you are and what is it you do?
My name is Don Nesbit. I'm the originator of VOKOL Acoustics, which is a supplier that provides audio equipment to boat manufacturers around the world. And my job role there is the Director of Innovation and Business Development.
Oh, awesome. Director of Innovation. That's quite a strong title, isn't it? That could mean anything.
Yeah, and I'm glad you say it that way because it's not about innovating products or trying to change, just making some kind of tweaks to things that exist already. It's really about just the innovation of how business is done, the approach to our segment, and applying it from an audio perspective. So it's encompassing of everything from the service, the support, the operations with working with boat builders and the end consumers themselves. And that's really where VOKOL kind of originated from, was just innovating to think differently.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, you're right. Actually, when I did hear the title, I thought, new products, keeping up with the new technology, advances in that. But actually, you're right. So it's a whole lot more.
Absolutely.
Okay. So let's go back a little bit. So, I mean, you're obviously, you're a passionate guy about the marine industry, but you're equally as passionate about audio. So how did those things start? What came first? Was it the passion about the marine industry? Was it the passion about audio? And how did you end up marrying them together?
Yeah, I think I'm fortunate, or some people may consider it unfortunate. I was bit by the audio bug many, many years ago, right when I first got my driver's license. So you're looking at 30 plus years ago, and being able to be passionate about the audio industry in the car side. And then I was fortunate enough to be living in a town where a guy founded a business that engineered audio equipment for this industry specifically, and landed a job there in 1999. That's where I started my career in the marine industry. And I can say I've worked on boats in 1999, but I couldn't tell you any of the terminology back then. And when I was hired, I was handed a book to say, you need to know that it's not a bathroom, it's a head. It's not a kitchen, it's a galley. To learn all the terminology. So I started pretty green in the marine industry, but with some really great mentors and some guidance from that group, it really allowed us to create a path and expanding the audio industry itself over many years. And now I've been doing it for 25 years.
So an audio expert that just happened to take their expertise into the marine industry as your next sort of step, and now here you are, and that's where we're at.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm an expert, but I think the passion allows it to pour in a way that that gives you that end result that people are really looking for, without it being overly fluffed or pushed from a retail mentality, because less is more in that mindset. But it's really just having a deep understanding of the back end that allows me to deliver on the front end with the boat manufacturers.
Yeah, sure. I mean, so there's more to it than speakers, right? So I know that might sound really naive of me, but genuinely, I think I am this naive about it, because I you know, I'm so passionate about the marine industry, but I say that quite broadly. And actually, this is why I love podcasting so much, because then when I meet people who have a niche part of the industry, it makes me stop and think, wow, actually, your niche part, the little cog that you play in the industry or in the journey of somebody purchasing a boat that's absolutely perfect for them, you know, I haven't really until now stopped to think about it. And it was similar when I had a conversation with a lighting expert. And I just thought it was a case of, oh, that lamp looks nice, put it there. And you know, he made me believe that it was just so much more. So, you know, what is it about audio that needs so much thought and you know, a whole small pocket of the industry being surrounded by it?
That's a huge question, and
Yeah,
I'll try to break it down a little bit for you.
sure.
The most important part about it is placement of the speakers themselves, kind of like with maybe the lighting guy or group showed you. You could put a light in the wrong location and the light looks really bad, but you put a light in a good location and it really just changes the environment. The exact same thing happens with sound. If you put the speaker in the right location, you can deliver so much more sound and so much more enjoyability out of the boat itself, rather than just finding a place to put a speaker. So location is very, very key. And then
Mm-hmm.
really understanding that, you know, we are ABYC certified, and that's important to be able to work with everybody from a 12 volt industry or a 12 volt boat to the 110 volt that we have here in the US, and in your country, the 220, 240 level. So you can work with yacht manufacturers and people that use different voltage levels, either AC or DC. And that's extremely important because you have to understand the constraints or the strain that you're putting on the electrical system of a boat, because even though audio is probably the most important portion of boating when you're out there having a great time, it's not considered a crucial for safety, for getting back to shore, making sure that the family and friends are good. But it just adds to the experience of it. We have to make sure that we take into account the electrical system itself.
Sure. So, I mean, you obviously understand the importance of it in regards to not just safety, but the overall enjoyment and the experience, the boating experience. Do your customers, you know, does the end user come to you already understanding that and saying, hey, I want you to install something that sounds incredible, that is functional? Or do you have to, at the point of sort of, you know, designing the boat, go in and actually make them realize that the audio is actually something they need to consider and how important it is? You know, what point?
Yeah, you know, if we were rewound 20 plus years ago, audio was this important to the boating industry. It was usually put a radio in there, you know, and we can go back to
Yeah.
the tape deck, you know, the tape decks. Again, that's 25 years ago, so it's definitely dating our conversation here. And then people went into CDs, and then they went into thumb drives and stuff like that. But even back then, it was just really kind of a basic approach of maybe adding an amplifier or a subwoofer or something to the system, where over the years we've really worked on not only improving the quality of the product as an industry whole, but working with the boat manufacturers from the OEM side of designing this in when they're thinking about a boat refresh or a new design, so they can get optimal performance from their boat too. Prior, it was always just, hey, here we've got a new 22-foot boat. Can you find where best place to put some speakers? And so then what you're doing is you're looking for some flat locations and trying to figure out where you can get some good coverage. And
Yeah.
today, just from the 15 years of paving or 20 years of paving a premium audio market, the builders really look to the audio suppliers for guidance and making sure that they're going to get the optimum performance out of it, which is very important because they lean on us, and then they got an engineering team internally that we get to lean on to make sure that all the ABYC stuff's followed, current draw is correct, battery reserve is proper, charging systems are correct. So we get to really work together and become synergistic, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what brand it is, that we want the end consumer to have an awesome experience on the water, because we want them to stay in the industry, to have fun on the weekends that they're using their boat. And the audio system shouldn't be a pain. It should be one of those things that's just part of the boating experience. It's an absolute enjoyment.
Sure. So you're actually getting involved from quite an early stage, ideally then. You know, it's not an afterthought anymore like it used to be.
Yeah, we're still going to have some afterthought approaches because everybody can't refresh everything. But yeah,
Yeah.
we do we do get involved early on. A lot of times we work directly with the designer of the boat. And then sometimes we get involved in right at the CAD level when they've gotten right where they get ready to tool some molds for the boat too, just to make sure that everything's kind of understood where the speaker's going to go, why, those kind of things. And your earlier question about all the things that kind of go into it is by putting speakers in their right locations. We also have to know if they're mounted to metal, like an aluminum or aluminium, as you would say, fiberglass, plastic, different types of materials, because that changes the sound as well. So we really work to make sure that wherever the speaker is located, that we understand all of the pieces and things that are around it to make sure that we're not just putting stuff in a certain location and go, oh, sorry, we didn't know it was going to be plastic. And then that sounds like a tunnel.
Gosh, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that even, the surrounding materials could affect it.
Yeah. And,
it's quite
I've watched
a delicate process, isn't it?
It's a huge process. And, I've watched a lot of your videos. I think it's wonderful that you get to go through a lot of the bigger boats. And what you'll notice is take all of that, and for the bigger boats, they want to make sure that it disappears. So there's all of this focus on concealment, hiding, kind of like the same thing with that lighting, right? Where you just want to see the ambient glow of the lighting. We want to hear the ambient sound in your environment. And the big boat guys, they are really particular about concealment while still delivering great sound, which then adds another layer of complication.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can't imagine how you would hide a speaker but not muffle it. Is that a bit of a simple way of thinking about it?
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
It's absolutely true. Yeah, there's different materials. There's acoustical materials that work out there. Obviously, everything has to be marine ready. There's perforated materials out of different types of metals and stainless, like aluminum and stainless steel. So there's a lot of creativity, but it's still a visual that has to be kind of integrated in. And that's where sometimes you have to arm wrestle with the designers, because they have a certain desired goal to make sure everything's meticulous and minimal. And but sound is still important at the end result.
Yeah, absolutely. So also as well, I mean, I know we've talked about sort of the sound quality and what it looks like visually as well, in the placement of it. But how smart is it? Because I know that I mean, the only thing I can sort of relate to in this is smart homes. So
Right.
when you have an audio system in a smart home, actually the audio can follow you from room to room. How smart do you make it, or how much of it is that?
So we are in a great time now where we're using a lot of technology, and I'm gonna make sure my car doesn't shut off here real quick. Sorry. So we're using a lot of technology that gives us the ability to control the sound in such a way that not only do we protect the product, but we're able to deliver full range sound at all volume levels rather than just having this full volume sound system. And it's all that becomes the technology part of it, because it doesn't matter what brand of speakers that you're using. If you can control that speaker and make it operate within its perfect parameters at all volume levels and deliver full range through the entire boat, the placement of the speaker becomes important, the material becomes important, and then you have that much control over the speaker itself. Your end result is a much wider, richer, deeper, more enjoyable sound to the audio system itself. And without that control, it still sounds great. It just adds that extra, what I like to say, that extra 1% or 2% that, again, it's all about longevity and enjoyment.
Well, that extra 1% that you say, that is what sets, somebody just going in and installing whatever sound system the customer decides they like the look of, without that level of expertise and without that level of consultation with the end user to say, hey, actually, because of X, Y, and Z, because I know from my years of experience, I know what will work in this space or with this material. That is that extra 1%, isn't it? That sets companies like yours apart from everyone else in the market.
Absolutely. And somebody told me years ago, they're like, really hot water is 211 degrees Fahrenheit, but it boils at 212 degrees. So that 1 degree difference takes really hot water and it makes it boil. And then if you approach the audio in the same way, just giving it that 1 degree difference than what everybody else is doing, it gives you that much more of an output in the experience.
Yeah. You must have a finely tuned ear. So if you walk into to a yacht that's had a sound system put in that you haven't had any involvement in, you must be able to walk in and just think, no, this isn't right. This isn't how the level should be. This isn't how I would want it. You must have such a finely tuned expectation.
Yeah, that's, there's a strong balance there because sound is very subjective. And so
Yeah,
what
that's
you may
true.
say, yeah, so what you may sound, oh, this sounds awesome. And some people else may be very picky and say, this doesn't sound great. So you have to be very cautious because let's say you get on somebody's boat and you're like, you're not enjoying it and you're taken back from it, but they love it. That's what they
Yeah.
like, right? So it's their preferences, which is one thing, again, that's all subjective, but there are things to really truly pick up on, that where you can tell where somebody may have set the EQ to give it a little bit too much, makes it muffly or too bass heavy or too much treble. But again, somebody might be tone deaf in a certain area. And for me, I can be extremely sensitive there. And so for me, it's kind of invasive to my ear. And a lot
Yeah.
of, women are really attuned to that center frequency of like 1 kilohertz because that's where a baby cries. And let's say
Really?
somebody was tone deaf there and they had their EQ boosted. Well, a female can get on the boat and be like, that right there is just invading my ears or really annoying. Please turn it down. And it's just very fatiguing. So it's very subjective, but
Yeah.
as an industry, I think we all try to focus on creating a nice balanced sound curve, and we let the customer give them a little what we call extra where they can boost the bass or boost the treble how they prefer it. But within that technology envelope, that still keeps everything protected and controlled.
Sure. So I guess the functionality that's not as subjective. You can make that absolutely bang on. You can you can place the speakers absolutely exactly where they should be. You can conceal them exactly where they should be using the material, but still allow the end user to tweak the levels because that's the subjective bit, I guess.
It's extremely subjective, and you want to make sure that you give them enough control
Mhm.
because they're the one buying it that allows them to tailor it in a way that they feel that it's exactly what they want without damaging anything.
But and also they might not want to be on a party boat every day. They might want to
That's
just
true.
chill on a Sunday.
Yeah, that's one of the things I think with our industry is we have done a great job building the importance of audio in boating today, and a lot of boats have multiple speakers rather than just 4 speakers. We have taken it to a level that can cause some noise ordinances on waterways. We have to be very cautious of that because these systems get really, really loud. And a lot of lakes have party coves, so you can go and party and crank it up and do what you want. But we have to be mindful that other people that live on the lake or other boaters may not want to hear your music at that volume level. And we just have to be very conscious that full volume is not always the best. But if you can have a full range audio system at a really nice volume level, you don't need to turn it up as loud.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Okay, this is so interesting. So, what have been the challenges? What's challenging you at the moment?
I think with our industry, we are in a slowdown. Obviously, the economy with interest rates and those type of changes, disposable income. No one needs a boat unless you're a fisherman and it's your living, right? But no one really needs a boat. It's a luxury, and our
Mm.
market, we have a large market for marine, and we're seeing a little bit of a slowdown here. And the public companies could share their numbers, which gives us a good indicator of what's going on. And that's really our challenge, is just the industry slowing down after COVID. So many people during COVID loved to be outside because you could in the summertime. And so they got into boating and recreational vehicles and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And now we're seeing that kind of tapering off to where people are doing other things now because they're not just stuck with the outdoor environment. They have so many other vacations and other things they can do. And then the audio side of it, the challenge that we're having is just how much more audio can you put towards the boat and without uh, taxing the electrical system any further because people keep wanting
Right.
more.
Okay.
And we're getting into audio systems that have 3,000, 4,000 watts of power. There's only so much reserve power battery that you can put in there, and then how do you charge those batteries? So we're right on the cusp of all of the technology from lithium batteries being possible to give us more storage capabilities in a smaller space. So there's a lot of little nuanced things that are going to keep changing, which will be beneficial to us if we maximize them and we're more efficient with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I suppose when you think about, you say, boating or leisure boating being a luxury, I guess, you're even one step further than that, in the fact that even if somebody can stretch their income to run a boat, maybe, a boat with a absolutely high-end sound system and audio system is another luxury. Do you know what I mean? They might just stop at the fact of, actually, I can just about get the luxury of the boat, but the luxury of a finely tuned audio system, will choose not to, or will choose not to invest so much in it.
Correct. Yeah, again, and just as sound is subjective, the desire for the audio system's ability for max output or how they use their boat is also subjective. We as an industry, we like to say that everybody wants great sound that's really loud and lots of speakers and that kind of thing. But when you look at the majority of the industry, just a really good sound system is important. Just they want to go out on the day, have a great time, and yeah, it's got to play loud enough to be over the wind and the engine noise. But when they're stuck or floating in a cove and they're enjoying the day with their friends and family, they still want to be able to have a conversation like you and I are having with just background music, kind of like in a nice restaurant or nightclub, and still be able to socialize. You don't want to drown it out. So I think that the industry as a whole, though we push to be crazy loud and lots of speakers on the boat, we're kind of forgetting the fact that a lot of people only use their audio system at that mid-level for the majority of their use.
And do you think, I mean, you touched on it slightly there with you said the engine noise. So with the electrification of the industry and the kind of the direction we're moving in now, like boats are becoming quieter. Yes. Do you think that's going to make your role even more important because people will be paying more attention to what their boats do sound like? Or do you think that actually, because you don't need to then think so much about coming over the engine noise, there will be less demand for audio specialists? How does it impact you?
Well, it depends on the segment. So we've benefited from the engine manufacturers going from like a 2-stroke to a 4-stroke outboard type engine, and they're much quieter. We still, if you're underway, you're going to have wind noise. And so take away the engine, which is obviously a lot noisier than the wind, you're still going to have the wind noise that you want to overcome. But with the hybrid or the electric type boats that are happening, because you don't have that engine noise, it goes back to that approach of, if people listen to their volume level at that 60-70% majority of the time, giving them an awesome audio experience at that level really benefits those who are in the electric boat world, because now they have no engine to overcome. And then when they get to their little cove or whatever, they're going to do the exact same thing all the boats with gasoline engines do, is shut the boat off and enjoy the audio system. But they don't need to have it go as loud while underway. And frankly, a lot of people, they don't go really fast they don't go really fast with their system cranked up totally, unless you're really out in the blue water by yourself, because it becomes a thing you want to be able to know your surroundings. The captain of the boat has to be extremely aware of what's going on. And just like when you drive, when it's raining and your windshield wipers are going like crazy, a lot of people reach for the volume control and turn the volume down a little bit, even in your own car. But that same mindset happens when you're boating. If there's a lot of traffic and a lot of kind of in and outs, there's no lines on the water to stay on your lane, right? Yeah. So you kind of have to be aware of your surroundings, and just turning the volume down just a little bit allows you to focus on who's coming up from behind you or around you, or working with your somebody else inside the boat to help your awareness in your surroundings.
Oh my goodness, you're absolutely right, because I turn the volume down in my car when I'm parking, or if I don't know where I'm going and I'm trying to look where everything is, or I'm unfamiliar with it.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
it's amazing how your brain automatically tells you to do it too. It's not because it's too loud or anything like that. It's just you're saying, hey, I got to concentrate on something else, and that right there is bothering me. Yeah,
that's crazy. That's absolutely right. So what size boats, or is it a complete range? Do you know what I mean? Do you often target, your end user in the smaller leisure, or are we talking big super yachts? Where do you sit?
Yeah, we've worked with everybody. Everything from the these are our standard system, since I don't know your metric system, but 18-foot boats all the way up to your 55, 65-foot sport yacht type boats. there's a lot of larger super yachts or mega yacht type products there, and they usually work with a group that contracts out, because then they can cover the entire electronic package inside those boats. That
Right.
becomes audio, video, the whole nine in control systems. But here in the U.S. and abroad, we really work with the fiberglass guys that are from 18 to about 55 foot, 60 foot.
Sure. Okay. So looking forward, and I know that obviously it's a little bit sort of crystal ball, especially when you're in sort of the space of sort of innovation. You don't know. That's the exciting bit of it, isn't it? You don't know what's coming next. But where could you see the industry heading? In specifics, when we think about audio, what do you think it's going to look like?
The industry, I'm excited to see how much more attention we put towards what's truly essential in our industry, because it's all about the weekend and how you use your boat and the enjoyment of being on the water, and giving you that awesome audio experience that is all like concealed in the boat. Again, it's all about like the person with the lighting. Let's create these environments that are just outstanding. And the car manufacturers have really figured it out. They do a lot of work with sound engineers to place speakers in different locations to give this amazing sound experience and inside the cockpit of your vehicle. And I think our industry is doing the exact same thing going forward, of concealment, less is more, proper placement, fully integrated in, and as much into the touchscreen type stuff as possible to allow people to use their phone and make it as seamless and easy to use. Because when you're out on the water, it's very important that it's not complicated to operate. And sometimes some of our systems get very complicated to operate themselves, or to troubleshoot if something does go wrong, because they're getting so complex. So I think I see kind of a little bit of a step back and removing the complexity.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
interesting. And I suppose you're right about people wanting to control it all from their phone, don't they? You don't want to be, it needs to be simple and something you can do, this picking your phone up within a few touches. You don't want to have to get up from where you're relaxing and go to a complicated control station and think, how do I use it?
Yeah, it's the best way to look at it. I mean, if you're a serious boater and you're always on your boat quite a bit, you know your ins and outs of your boat. You're just going to know them. And even if you boat only so off, like every couple weeks or a couple months, you're probably going to know the ins and outs of your boat. But there are certain points that people who own a boat, they love the hobby, they love going out on the water, but it's like getting into a rental car. If you get into a rental car, you have to learn the operation, the menu of that screen really quick, to put your Bluetooth in, to pair your phone up. But every customer knows their phone really, really well. So if you can just get it into your boat, you're going to control your audio system through here. It's going to be a lot better experience, because you don't have to go learning another menu when you're only using your boat once a week or every couple of weeks on the weekend only.
Yeah, absolutely. So have you noticed any sort of trends or any sort of shifts in behavior, sort of buying behaviors, like, with the generations, are younger generations more in tune with going, hey, I want better audio? Or is it, what sort of trends have you noticed with your audience?
Yeah, it depends on the segment itself. I'm going to say some segments have, I'm going to say, capped out in the audio as far as putting a whole lot of product in each one of their, depending on what size boat it is. But the other segments are actually kind of catching up. We just did a new program that launches with a bass boat company called Icon, IKON. And bass fishermen, they buy a boat to go fishing. That's really what they do. And they put a lot of horsepower on the back. It allows them to get to their fishing hole really quickly. And but audio has become somewhat important to them too, because they want to be able to hear it while cruising to their fishing hole. But they don't want to disturb their fishing environment when they're there. And so they usually just turn the audio system off. And with Icon, what we've done is we actually designed an audio system that removes the vibrations from the boat, so they can still have audio without scaring their fish or disturbing their fishing environment or draining their batteries quickly, and gives them the sound while they're underway. So you just look, it depends on the segment itself, on where the advancements are going to be. And a lot of bass fishermen, this is, could be younger generation people buying into boats. They're just asking for those little bit of extra things that take care of those pain points. And in using an audio system.
So you almost start at the end and work backwards, instead of saying, hey, look, these are 3 audio systems I think are great and would work well with your boat. You almost have to go, okay, let's go right to the end of the process. Who are you? What boat is it? What are you going to be using it for? And actually solve their problem backwards. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's it. You're exactly right, and you picked up on that. It's an approach of, it's great working with the boat builder themselves to design a great audio system or an audio experience itself. But if you really break it down and you find what's essential and how the boat is used, then you can understand a bass boat user, a pontoon boat user, a wake boat user, and work backwards from there. And a lot of the innovative things that we've been doing start with that, is just understanding, like the bass boat that I share with you. We just did some new cool stuff with a pontoon builder where we deliver bass out the back underneath the boat. So when you're out floating in the back in a cove, because that's how pontoon boats are used majority of the time, people are sitting out behind it. We're delivering premium sound out the back of it. And same thing with like a towboat. We brought the sound out of the boat to get it closer to your head, but make a more immersive sound system so it covers the wind noise, so you don't have to have the volume as loud to hear it. Again, it's starting at the very end point of how boats are really used. And when you get that understanding and you work with your boat builder, because they want your expertise and your guidance, not just the features and benefits of your product, you're able to work with them to deliver that experience. And the end result is their customers happier with their brand, and then associates happier with the brand that we're supplying them.
I suppose it's a bespoke solution for everyone, really, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Because not everyone is not everyone's using it for their boat for exactly the same reason, exactly the same time, for the same purpose, and everyone's also got that subjectivity of what they prefer and their opinion. So it must, at least you don't get bored. You're not doing the same thing. You're not installing the same thing time after time after time.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Each one has its own kind of category and its own level, and then it's what fits within the bill of materials for that boat brand. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what about longevity of this segment of the industry? Where's the new talent coming from? Do you know what I mean? Are there people entering the industry, like younger generations entering the industry and specifically entering the audio part of it? How are you attracting new talent to this part of the industry?
Well, I'm hoping some people that are younger listen to this, because it is definitely a concern. Because a lot of us that have been doing this, we've been doing it for 20 something years, and we go to these different events and it's the same circle. And a lot of the younger group or the younger generations have been able to be attracted to more things like technology for lithium batteries or hybrid vehicles or electric vehicles. So when you're into either electrical engineering or mechanical engineering or audio engineering, there's a lot of other industries that are out there that are very attractive and competing with us in the marine side. So we need to do a better job of attracting the younger groups to be involved with us. They're also, when you find that a younger generation out of college or in their late 20s, early 30s, they're going to think differently too of how the product's used compared to what we've been doing for many, many years. And they're going to think about from the end user what's important to them and help us influence the direction of what we're doing from an audio side. So we definitely need them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, it's not a problem. It's a problem not just in this section of the industry, it's a problem across all sections of the industry, but it's not something that can be changed overnight. And, you're absolutely right. In conversations like this, even if it's just to raise awareness with a small pocket of people, it's a chain reaction, isn't it? If everyone's talking about it more, if more people were talking about audio in the marine industry specifically, younger generations thinking, gosh, what am I going to do with my life? I know I love audio and I know I love boats. They're going to put 2 and 2 together and think, I could go into that section of the industry, when they might not have thought that before.
Correct. Yeah, electrical engineers they're short in our industry, and it's everything from 12 volt, 24 volt, 36, all the way up to the house electric on the AC side up to 240, and then with the lithium battery understanding, all of that put it together, plus the software in the background to operate everything. it's very cumbersome and just requires an army of people to make it work. And, if somebody's in their college degrees in their college days right now, and they're looking at doing electrical engineering, I always tell them, just right out of college, you may want to keep an eye on the boating side if you enjoy being near the water and stuff, because it's a industry that needs fresh electrical engineers, and they can learn and be mentored by people who've been doing it for 25 plus years to really pave their way, or show them if it's a path that they want to be on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's an ongoing battle in all areas, but if everyone did that small amount to raise the awareness, increase the education, and lower the barriers to entry, it's not something that's going to be fixed overnight, but it's something. At least we're doing something for it,
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, when I said I was going to learn something, I absolutely have. And I think it's just from pausing to actually really think about it, rather than zooming through the industry at sort of surface level, very broad, and not stopping to think about this particular niche. So I thank you so much for teaching me, and hopefully the listeners, even if it's just sparking that seed of curiosity about it and thinking, I've never thought about it in that way. It's really, really fascinating, Don.
Well, thank you so much for just, asking the right, I'm going to say curious questions, because, a lot of things in our lives, I think we just take for granted. They're just there. Right. And, you and I probably remember the days of dialing up to get on the internet, and here we are. We got free Wi-Fi pretty much surrounding us every single day. And so life has changed. And if you're not aware of it, you don't know the back end of it. It's just kind of, you just take it for granted.
Yeah, absolutely. But we have got one more question, which is my favorite question always. What one quote do you strive to live by? What motivates you every day?
Wow, there are so many good quotes. I kind of don't have a quote that I live by, because there's so many good ones. But I'm going to call it kind of more of a mantra that I was fortunate enough to read out of a book. John Spence wrote a book called Awesomely Simple, and it's an extremely easy read. And I've recommended it even to like 12-year-olds. I mean, it's just such an easy read. Oh. And it's all about just simplifying your approach to everything that you do, because then it doesn't consume you. And he had a formula in there, and the formula was ECF times D equals S. And I live truly by that formula. That doesn't
sound very simple.
No, but once I tell you here, it's very simple. It's extreme customer focus multiplied by the discipline, and you'll have success. It equals success. And it's for me, it's like a mantra or a formula that I live by, that if I can focus on the customer, either from the builder side or from the end user, how the boat's used, and with a disciplined approach, it results into having 25 years of success.
Oh my goodness. Actually, you're right. It is quite simple, because I suppose instead of getting distracted and going off at tangents and all of this, it's actually just focusing on what's important, which is your end user and their experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's focusing on that and being disciplined to block everything else out.
Absolutely. So there's tons of good quotes out there, but when you ask me, that is something that I live by pretty much every single day.
But you're the first person to give me a formula as a quote, by the way.
Wonderful. That's
I
my
love
quote.
It. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Don. Keep in touch, and I'd love to keep catching up with you again.
Yeah, absolutely. Great job on what you're doing. Thank you for staying connected on LinkedIn, and I love watching your feed, and I'm glad to be part of it.
Oh, thank you so much, Don. That's kind.
Okay, wonderful. Holly, have a great day.
See you.
I really hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, then it would be awesome if you could leave a rating or a review. Don't forget to subscribe so you can listen to us again. See you soon.